times in that night he'd go through that liturgy. And he said, he was talking about a girl then in the bar who'd sung songs, you know, and wasn't she a fine girl and a grand girl and a mighty girl? Do you know, in the old days, in the Fianna Fine, on Farriga, Fod, Luim, Luim, Dynach, you can't just say, it is ungenerous to say that a woman is a grand girl. Christ, you have to go on and on and on. She's a grand girl and she's a fine girl and she's a mighty girl and should the Lord save us, 'tisn't from the wind she took her, wasn't her father a mighty man, her grandfather didn't know, they're all grand people. And that song she sung, John, wouldn't you stand naked in the snow listening to it? You know, and he said, sing me one verse of that song. So I had to stand there and sing Martin one verse of Loch Sheelan side. And how proud was I of my girl so tall, I was envied mostly by young men all, when I brought her blushing with bashful pride to my cottage home by Loch Sheelan side. So anyway, I would kind of survive that kind of spasm of loyalty and that bit of the liturgy. And down the road we went, and Martin linked arms with me, and the Cordons were desperate for Martin, and they were, because I'd seen Martin Varucos and Martin soles of Martin feet, and they were really bad. So when Martin said his Cordons were hurting, I believed him. I said, okay, Martin, we'll sit down for a while. And there was a stand of trees there, and of chestnuts and lime trees, and we said we'd sit down. We had old oilskins on us, so we sat down, and Martin took out his pipe, and then he took out the matches, and he lighted a match. And this was a December night now, dark, calm December night. And Martin lighted the match, and he held it for a while. And there it was, this little flame in the dark night, and it was so vulnerable and so tender in some way, and it didn't seem to illuminate the dark. It didn't turn the darkness into itself, or it didn't even desire to turn the darkness into itself, to transform the darkness. It had no imperial intentions in relation to the dark. It just sat there, this little flame in the night, and it merely pushed the darkness. It didn't even push the darkness away. The darkness almost backed away a little bit and gave it room. And I thought of the wonderful vulnerability of the light. And then Martin light his pipe and was puffing away, and after a while then out comes, I knew what was going to happen. Martin would pull out his little bottle of whiskey that he was bringing home with him. So he started drinking that, and I've had a few drinks of that. Then Martin said, you hammy kilt, John. Now, not K-I-L-L-E-D at all, but K-I-L-T. You hammy kilt, John. You hammy kilt. You're a grand man and a fine man, and you're a great neighbour, and we're delighted to have you living where you're living below there amongst us, but you hammy kilt. Not believing in God, man, or the devil. I don't see you inside at the Holy Mass within in Roundstone. You hammy kilt, and I have a story to tell. All whom it may concern, he said, all whom it may concern. And I knew now that this was going to concern me very particularly. So Martin was saying, one fine summer's day down Carnaway, there was a man sitting from Carna. A man from Carna was sitting on the seawall, sitting there smoking his pipe. A man from Carna, he knew the countryside well, like the back of his own hand. He knew this countryside, and a tourist car came along and stopped right beside him. And the man rolled down, the man who was driving the car, the tourist who was driving the car, he rolled down the window and said, am I on the right road to Carna? And the man from Carna took the pipe out of his mouth, and he looked down the road a long while, and then he looked up the road a long while, and then he looked into his own mind and into his own nature for a long time, and finally he came back out and looked at the driver, and he said, you are on the right road to Carna, but you're turned the wrong way. And I was thinking, now Martin, I have a feeling that concerns me very particularly. What you're saying to me now, Martin, I think, is that I might be on the right road to heaven, but somehow or other I'm turned the wrong way. 'Tis down I'm going. So, I remember Martin then, having told that story, he was content to drink away for a while and smoke away for a while, and I had all oilskins on, so I lay back under the trees. I just lay back down on the ground, pulled up the hood, and I lay down on the ground. And I was thinking, I knew this place very well now, and I was knowing that come next April, this will now be a sea of daffodils. I'll come up here, and this will be just, and sometimes when you look, it will be a sea of daffodils, but it will look like a sea of consciousness. And sometimes we would say like that consciousness mostly in our ordinary everyday living is kind of black and white consciousness, kind of grey, dull consciousness. But here there's this wonderful sea of yellow consciousness. And as I lay back there, lying on the stick-strewn, leaf-strewn, chestnut-strewn earth, I was wondering, I was aware that down, deep down, and not so deep, but certainly superficially deep in this soil now, there are all these daffodil bulbs, and they are now breaking, they are now budding, and come next April they will be overground, they will be blooming. But now they're there, and they're ceasing to be dormant now. They're coming alive now. And here are all these bulbs of consciousness that I'm lying on. And I was just wondering, are there dormancies within me? Are there bulbs of consciousness, bulbs of yellow consciousness, bulbs of sapphire blue consciousness, bulbs of emerald green consciousness, bulbs of seventh heaven consciousness in me? And we know like that when a kitten is born, it's blind for the first 9 days, isn't it? Now, are there senses and faculties in me that just don't remain dormant for 9 days? They might remain dormant for 9 lives or 99 lives, or, 99 to the power of 9 incarnations, that these faculties or whatever you'd like to call them remain dormant in me. I mean, sometimes like I would imagine someone walking down to Ballybunny, walking down the beach in Ballybunny and standing ankle deep in the ocean and saying the ocean is ankle deep, but the ocean is infinitely deeper than it is than ankle deepness. So are we mostly only ankle deep in our own nature? Are there immensities in our own nature? Now, Hindus and Buddhists and Oriental people generally, they talk about chakras, that there are in fact bulbs, if you like, of consciousness within us. They call them the chakras. And that if you live a particular kind of life, and maybe if you practice Kundalini yoga, that these chakras, one by one, beginning with the Muladhara chakra, that they will open. And when the Sahasrara chakra, the 1,000-petal lotus chakra, at the crown of the head, when that opens, then you've experienced Radha Bhava, if you like. You've experienced bliss then. So are there infinite reaches of consciousness inside, or other modes of consciousness inside of us, other bulbs of consciousness inside of us that never ripen us? Are we largely dormant? Throughout most of our incarnations. So that's what I was thinking there, thinking of the bulbs of consciousness under the soil, and thinking maybe of all the stick strewn, my news at 10 strewn, my news at 12 strewn, my news at 1 in the night strewn mind is under all that surface activity of my mind are these other bulbs of consciousness. That's just what I was thinking there in the night. But after a while it began to feel cold, and I said, Martin, God bless you, maybe we should begin to go home now. So the two of us got up and we walked down. I chaperoned him, kind of linked arms with Martin down the avenue, and he was talking away, my best friend, and Martin was now drunk because he'd been drinking this whiskey all the time that I was thinking about chakras and immensities and stuff like this. So we came to the cattle trap, and I had some kind of problem negotiating Martin across the cattle trap below by the gate lodge, but we got across that anyway, and we're now down the back road. And it was dark now. Christ, this was dark and silent and calm. And as we walked down the road after a while, Martin said, where are we? And I said to Martin, I think we're in front. In fact, I'm sure we're beside the old stables. And he said, where? And I said, beside the old stables, Martin. And he said the cordons were bad. And I said, okay, Martin, the Lord bless us and save us. Come on, Martin, God bless you. If we are what I think we are, there's a wall here at the other side of the road. So I chaperoned Martin and handed him across and we found the wall. We groped and we found the wall and we sat in it. And Martin again went into his kind of drunkenness, and he came back out and said, where are we, John? And I said, we're at the old stables in Ballynahinch. And he said, the old stables. The old stables of Ballynahinch. And he said, many and many and many is the fine bucket of fine cow's milk. Ted and myself milked there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and again at 6 o'clock in the evening. Morning after morning, 6 mornings a week there, we'd milk them cows and milk them again in the evening. The Lord have mercy on Ted. The Lord have mercy on Ted. The Lord have mercy on Ted. Say it, you son of a bitch, say it. So I said, the Lord have mercy on Ted. So I kind of survived that crisis, and again we were ready to go off down the road. I persuaded Martin, God bless you, Martin, come on now, have one more drink and we'll go down the road. So we went down the road and down the crooked road, and we crossed Lowry's Bridge, and we came out onto the back road. And Martin, there was another major calamity here, another major crisis, because Martin wanted to go left, and I said, Martin, God bless you now and spare you the help, Martin, but no, I mean, we want to go home, don't we? And Martin said, yeah. And I said, Martin, we must go right. And Martin then got elementally furious. And now again, I was the hood of a carryman, and I was a blow-in, and I just arrived in the place, and wasn't he here all his life? And wasn't it exactly here? He was one morning come from, was it a wake or a fair or something? I was coming here at 6 o'clock in the morning, and who did I meet coming up against my own